Modern day Dracula, modern day Dracula, modern day Dracula,
Okay, welcome. This is Dr. J, and I am here live. This is a follow up to the podcast about the Amityville Horror. And if you are joining me live, thank you. And if you have any comments, throw them in the comments. We'll bring them up. What I'm going to do is bring up a bunch of different frequently asked questions when it comes to the Amityville Horror. If you haven't yet listened to the podcast, go check it out on the Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast on any streaming platform or any podcast platform that you normally listen to. It's there. So go check it out. Once again, I am Dr. J, retired demon hunter, knower of things, and host of the Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast. So what I want you to do is follow along with me as we jump in to this presentation. All right. So we're going to start out with the first question we have here, and it is, does the Amityville Horror House still exist? And the answer is, let's move on. So I have it set up here where we have the question and then the answer. Boom. Yes, it still exists. It's in the same exact location. The house was built in 1924. Now, if you look at the picture that I have here, you can notice that there are definitely some things that have been changed on the house. The house was like black, I think, in 1974 when the crime happened and when the haunting happened. But as you can see, the windows that used to be the semicircular windows at the top, those have been changed. Some things have been changed early on because people, the people who lived in the house didn't want to be bothered. So what they did is they changed the look so you wouldn't recognize it right off the bat and come visit it and bother them. So it's not really advisable. Like, the address is no secret. You can look it up. You can go to Google, it's blurred out. The house is there. But if you go, like, the people who live there are not happy about people visiting, the neighbors aren't happy, and the police probably wouldn't be too happy if you just go hanging out. Don't go knocking on their door, don't get on their lawn, it's private property. But it is there. So that is a question a lot of people ask. Let's move on to the next question. This is a good one. A lot of people want to know, is the house on ancient Native American burial ground? So the answer to that is it is unknown. Because there were some things said, that's why there is this belief. But honestly, the whole United States of America is Native American land, and it's very possible that everyone is living on an ancient burial ground. When the Lutzes did research on the property, they claim that this is where they found this information about this Indian burial ground. But then later on, people went to investigate this, and it's unfounded. So it's highly possible that there's Indian burial ground, Native American burial ground that the house is built on, just because of the history of the United States. But there's no proof currently that that is the case. So let's move on, and thank you for whoever's watching. Again, I'm Dr. J. We're going to talk about the podcast episode. If you have any comments or questions, throw that in the comments and I can pop it up on the screen and we can answer it. Let's move on. How big is the house? It's a pretty big house, actually. It's a 3-story house with a full basement, and the total square footage is around 4,100 square feet. And the area of the basement, if you watch the movie, they have that red room is what they discover. I don't know. I was just watching Amityville 3D, just the beginning of it, and they're in the basement, and apparently, like, one of the characters falls through the floor and goes into this, like, pit to hell. But I saw Amityville 3 in the theaters when it came out. It was in the 80s, and it was 3D. So when you watch it now in 2D, it's really strange watching it because it is meant for 3D. So the weird camera angles and the way they put things in the extreme foreground really looks strange when you're watching it in 3D. All right, give me a second here. Just checking some things out. All right, let's move on. All right. So now we're getting into the murders, and I brought this up recently on TikTok. Why didn't the family members wake up during the murders? Were they drugged? That's the question. And the answer about that, were they drugged or not, the answer is no, drugs were not found during the autopsies. But I did more research on this, and even though it would appear that they were all sleeping when they were killed, the investigation on the murders is a little bit more in detail when it comes to that. So it's highly likely the father is sleeping and he gets shot in his sleep. But then the mother looks like she was trying to get up and then shot and went back down. Evidence shows that Ronnie's kid sister, that she had her head raised towards the bedroom door when she was shot. The brothers, Mark and John. Now this is interesting. Mark was in a wheelchair. Like he couldn't, even if he wanted to, he couldn't have run away. He couldn't have escaped. So he was in bed and there's nothing he really could do. The other kid, even if he got up, he could have been basically told, get back into bed. And it's believed that maybe Ronnie told them to put their faces down, kind of making it easier for them to not know what was going to happen because the bodies were found. It's really, really awful when you think about this, but they were found like clutching the sheets. So it's possible that they were told to lay down and they were holding on to the sheets right before it happened. So, like we said, it's initial shooting of the father. He's sleeping. Louise is the mother. She was shot trying to rise from bed. Allison likely didn't have a lot of time to know what was happening before she was shot, so it's unusual that she was still in bed. The boys we just talked about. And then we have Dawn. There's a lot of strange things when it comes to Dawn because Dawn, there are some stories where she gets up and Ronnie's on the way up and she's asking and they have some conversation and then maybe he kills her. Obviously, there's this story that Ronnie claims that he struggled with Dawn and killed her because she was the one doing it. However, her body was found in a relaxed sleeping, covers over her position. So could it be that she was affected by drugs? If it is, they're keeping that secret. Maybe because she's a victim and they didn't want to have it that she had drugs in her system or something like that. But we really don't know Dawn's story. It appears she was shot while she was sleeping or laying down in a sleeping position. So how she ended up not getting up is a mystery. So that's a tough one. All right, next question. Did Ronnie hear voices that told him to kill his family? And let's the answer. Yes, according to one version of the story Ronnie told police. So the thing you really have to get into your head when you're learning about this is that Ronnie was a liar. And he lied about everything. And his stories changed over and over. And so when we're talking about the voices, he claims he's watching a show called Castle Keep. And he heard his family whispering, and he felt that his family was plotting to kill him. And around the end of the film, he says that he was handed a rifle by a person with black hands, and then he killed his family members. And even in court, he just claims that he couldn't stop. He felt somebody was inside moving him. That was his quote in court. And if he would have just left it at that, we could really buy into this idea that Ronnie's hearing voices, he's possessed by something. But then the story changed so many times with Ronnie, and Ronnie making up all kinds of stories, like I said, about the mafia and things like that. So take that with a grain of salt. When you're hearing stuff that Ronnie said, pretty much everybody who's investigated this and talked about this all say that he's a liar and that you really can't believe anything that Ronnie is saying. All right. Again, if you have any comments, let me know. And let me just say that if you haven't already joined the Facebook group, Monsters, Magic, and Mayhem, go over there, join it. I want to have a lot more discussions in the group on off hours. And so definitely, if you haven't done that yet, jump into Facebook, find the group. It's also always in my show notes. So you can always find it in my show notes. It's probably in the YouTube description. If not, it's around there somewhere. But just search Monsters, Magic, and Mayhem, join the group, and let's go back to our questions. All right. All right. I like this one. Was the movie, the original movie, filmed in the original house? And the answer is no. The original film was a house that was in Toms River, New Jersey. So the house, the real house, was never used in any of the films, ever. And the house that we see in the movies is this house that was used in it was built in Toms River, New Jersey, or it was used and, I guess, made to look like it, but it is not the real house. And I believe the Toms River house is gone now. So people would go visit that too, but I don't think that's even there anymore. All right, next question. How did the original film happen? What happened there? So Jay Anson and the Lutzes, they basically negotiated a deal. However, Jay Anson first made a deal with CBS, and then that was sold. But the Lutzes went and said, whoa, 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 Jay doesn't have all the rights to this story. And so eventually Jay and the Lutzes negotiated a deal for the film. And the interesting thing is that the Lutzes got the rights to sequels, which is fascinating because that's surprising that they would have that. Maybe they didn't believe that the films were going to do that well, or at least the original film wasn't going to do that well. So when it came to the Lutzes making this deal and saying, fine, we'll give you the sequel rights, which is super rare. So the Lutzes did get the sequel rights. And, yeah. It's interesting that things like that happen because, like, when you think about Star Wars, for example, George Lucas got, like, the merchandising rights and things like that for toys. They didn't think the movie was going to do that well. So they gave him whatever he wanted when it came to that. So he made out with toys and all kinds of stuff. So let's jump on to our next question. Boom. Aha! Now, I don't know if you liked it. Let me know in the comments if you liked the remake of the Amityville Horror. It was the 2005 remake. Was it more accurate depiction of the original events? The answer is a hard pass. No, 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 it was not. It was not a better version of this. If you want to know what is the closest to the story that the Lutzes say happened, it's going to be the book. The book is going to be the closest to it, and then probably the movie next. But the movie took some liberties with the story. So if you want to really read what people believe really happened, go and find the book and read the book, and that would give you the best depiction of events for the Amityville Horror. All right, let's go jump on to our next question. Oh, I didn't even give you the answer to that, but not at all is the answer I put. All right. This again, this actually shocks me. I have a lot to say about this. So let's get into this question here about the kids. Did the kids of the Lutz family, did they admit that it was a hoax? So a lot of people getting into this, they hear all these things about, I heard this, and is that true? There's so many rumors going around when it comes to this that there really does need to be a lot of research to get through all the nonsense. And the one thing is about the kids. Now I'm going to show you this answer. Boom. The answer is no, but let's dig deeper into that. Cheers. All right. So they never did this. Let me jump back to my big screen here so we can get more personal. The Lutz kids never admitted that it was a hoax. In fact, the little girl actually remembers Jody. Now, if you remember in the movie and the story, Jody was like this sort of invisible friend. And this part's really creepy. So if you listen to the podcast, I talked about that the Warrens stayed over in 1976 and they had a photographer with them. They took the picture, and in the picture became this demon boy photo. And you can look it up online. It's a demon boy. I actually should have put it into this. Man, let's do it. Let's see. We got some time here. So while this is happening, I'm going to do a little look, but I'm going to talk about it. So the demon boy picture of Amity, that picture was taken, and I'm going to bring that up. And let's find the best one here. Here's a good one. I'll drag that down here for a second. And then I'm going to try to bring this up as an overlay. Let's see, that's it, okay. And we should be seeing it now on screen. This is the Demon Boy picture. And in it, you can see the picture was taken at these stairs, and there's a red circle here, and that's the kid, and then there's a zoomed in picture on the right. Now, I said in the podcast that, it's very much a close representation of the photographer's son, and there's a lot of that. You can look it up, that people debunked this. But what's creepy, and I'm going to hide this now and go back to myself. What's creepy about this is that the daughter who befriended Jody said that demon boy looked like Jody. That's creepy. I also think it's very creepy that the kids all have these memories. Missy is the girl who had friends, and she still believes that Jody existed and that it was not simply the neighbor's cat, as some people said. The ghost boy photo was discovered. She remarked that the figure looked like the same boy she played with at the house. George has stated that no member of the family has said that the haunting was a hoax, and he believes it is simply an internet rumor. Now, there's a couple things I have to say about this, being a parent. The idea that if this is a hoax, then the George and Kathy Lutz are probably the worst parents out there. Because I'm going to bring up the ages later, but they're very young kids at this point. I think the oldest is 10 years old during the haunting. If it's a hoax, kids at that age have a hard time really knowing, especially if the parents are saying it's true, they're going to have a hard time knowing what happened for real. Like, even if, and the kids are adults now, and these adults are looking back on memories, and memory is a very faulty system, especially if you're influenced by your parents. And at the point that this happened, it became huge. They've probably seen the movie, they've read the book. Like, the kids and their memory can't be trusted. And it's sad because if the family did create a hoax, they really damaged the children doing this. And it's just awful. And so you can't really trust, like, I don't find the information that the Lutz's children never said it was a hoax. To me, that doesn't prove anything. Because they were kids when it happened, and their memory isn't worth, like, you really can't go by a memory in that situation. And the damage that, even if it was a hoax, if the family, like if the parents went and said, we're going to make this up, but I don't know. But what's interesting is I had put on TikTok, is it a hoax or is it haunted? Nobody responded that they believed it was a hoax. Everybody really truly believes this house is haunted. So let's get back to our frequently asked questions and jump into the next question. And again, if they did this, did the Lutzes make up the story for money? And let's jump in here. So if they did, they weren't very smart about it. That's kind of my takeaway from this. Did they do it for money? Well, if they did do it for money, they could have done it better, because let's jump into this. If we're looking at it, if I'm going to do this, right, I would want to say, I'm going to make sure that no matter what happens with Jay Anson and the film company and all that stuff, I'm going to make sure that I get the best contract when it comes to selling my story and making it into a film. And they really didn't do that very well. So let's talk about the money that they made. So the History's Mysteries documentary actually says that George estimates that they made a little over $250,000 from the book and around $160,000 from the film. And then in a 2002 interview with Art Bell, George estimated they received around $300,000 after taxes and lawyer fees and such. Now, yes, that, especially in 1970s money, that's quite a bit of money. So maybe they did it for money, but if you knew in advance that you're doing it for money, you could have did a lot better, because I'm pretty sure that the Jay Anson and the filmmakers, they did a lot better. I'm trying to see, I thought I had a price on that, what they made, but I'm not seeing it. If it comes up, I'll let you know. But I know that the author made a lot more money, and you know what? A lot of people actually suck at business, so it's possible that they did make it up. They did it to make money, and they just weren't very good business people, or had bad lawyers, or whatever that may be, whatever the case may be. Let's jump to our next here. And thank you again for watching the live broadcast. This is a very good question too. Did the Lutzes know the history of the house? I don't have you on that screen. Let me jump it on here. Give me a second. You should be there now. You see it? Yep. Did the Lutzes know the history of the house? By the way, I got a really cool dead zombie beer opener here. How cool is that? Oh. All right. Did they know? Let's jump to the answer. Boom. Yes, they were told by the realtor about the house's history. And another fun Amityville 3D, I thought it was funny. In the movie, you got, in the very opening, they have this investigative reporters going to debunk the house because people were trying to get people to come into the house and have seances. They debunk it. And then the realtor in that movie is like, I can't sell this house. Speaking of selling the house, it did sell in 2016. It was up on the market for $850,000. Someone did buy it, and that owner is still in the house. I think they moved in 2017. 850,000 is pretty good for an Amityville Horror. I would pay, like if I could do it, I would love that, but I would make it a tourist attraction. That's just me. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oh no. My beer's getting excited. All right. All right. This is another fun question. What happened during the house blessing? So if you don't know, when the Lutzes moved into the house, they had a blessing. And so they brought Father Ray over, and this is the Father Ray that we're seeing here is the Father Ray from the movie. And, you know, he came in and he blessed the house. So what happened, he heard a voice. So that whole thing, it's been parodied so much since this movie, but he's in there, and it's in the sewing room. And if you remember from my podcast, according to the Warrens, the sewing room was the darkest place in that house, the room with the most demonic activity. And so Father Ray goes in, he's blessing the house, he's in the sewing room, and he hears, "Get out," right? And then he's slapped. And he leaves, and he tells the Lutzes, hey, whatever you do, don't make the sewing room, I don't know if it was the sewing room at the time. He says, don't make that room a bedroom. And just avoid that room as much as you can. And they made it the sewing room. But, you know, it's a good story. You know, later on, Father Ray in the movie has blisters on his hands. He does in real life go to the doctor, show that his hands are like blistered and things like that. And the doctor's like, well, it seems like it's from stress. And so it could be whatever it was that happened to him physically. It could have been stress, but Father Ray's a mystery after that. So you can look up Father Ray. There's a lot of mysterious stuff about this guy. What happened to him, where he went, things like that. All right, let's keep going. This is we're almost there. What were the ages of the Lutzes at the time of the haunting? Here they are. So Kathy and George were both 29. Danny was 10. He's the oldest, right? Christopher, 7, and Missy, 5, Melissa. So 5, 7, there's definitely no way they're recalling this stuff. Let me jump back here. There's no way that these kids, the oldest being 10, are recalling things correctly, in my personal opinion. And you can read books about memory and how faulty memory is. It's really not, I mean, they're going to say stuff because that's how they remember it. And you can't say they're lying. It's just the way memory works. And there's not much you can do about that. But most people still believe the Amity house is haunted, despite no one having any issues after the Lutz family. The Lutzes came in, they ran out 28 days later. No one has any issues after that. And according to DeFeo, again, Ronnie DeFeo is known to be a liar, so we can't really go, and he's dead now, so there's just no way we'll ever know the truth. But he also says, and I said this in the podcast, that there were no demons. That was done for money. People did that for money. There were no demons. He calls himself the demon. So like I said in the podcast, whatever you define as demon, maybe, yes, then there's demons if you're talking about people just having crap going on in their head. So it is now 10 o'clock. It's been a half hour. I want to keep these things short and to the point. Again, if you haven't yet joined the Facebook group, Monsters, Magic with a K, and Mayhem, join the group. People are starting to come in. I want you to go to the Facebook group, sign up, and let's get more discussion going on all this fun stuff. Really excited about where we're going with this, and then I'm going to reveal more fun things later. So, thank you so much for coming to the show, and let me say this. One more drink. What I'm going to do, and this is brand new. Monday, I release the Real Demon every other Monday. So yesterday was the Amityville Horror Show. It'll be 2 weeks to the next Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast. The night after I do the Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast, I will be doing this live show. So put it on your calendars. We're going to make this so it's going to be, I want to get to a place where I can't even handle the comments coming in. I want to get to that place. And I understand it's going to take time. But I really think we got something as a community here to talk about all this occult, fun, goody stuff that I love to talk about. So, thanks again, and good night.